Welcome to Fight Night Hearthstone Edition, featuring the top 8 players around the world. With 10,000 in prize money and regional pride on the line, who will go home the Hearthstone champion? This is Fight Night! Welcome back, everybody, to Fight Night here at ESGN TV. Last time, Team DogeHouse go up 1-0 over Praise Ragnaros after Atrocis was able to beat Trump by a score of 3-2. It was one of the most exciting series we've seen. Let's take a look at some of the highlights as we get ready for our second match.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe it! Atrocis draws the fireball, it's over!
Top
First
deck,
sweep!
top deck or lose 2 games in a row.
Oh my goodness.
Well, those were some exciting games, and I can't wait to watch today's action as well. For those of you who are watching for the first time of Fight Night and want to know what Hearthstone is, here's a little video explaining what it's all about.
Hearthstone is a 1v1 digital card game developed by Blizzard Entertainment, the company behind famous franchises such as StarCraft, Diablo, and the Warcraft series. Currently, in the Hearthstone beta, you have the choice between 9 hero classes, akin to their Warcraft counterparts: Warrior, Shaman, Rogue, Paladin, Hunter, Druid, Warlock, Mage, and Priest. Each class has its own unique set of cards that you can choose to customize, as well as a unique hero power that you can use once per turn. Each player chooses 30 cards before the match. This format is often called constructed, and is considered the primary form of competition in any collectible card game. Hearthstone is turn-based. Both players take separate turns to play their cards. You can play as many cards as you want, but be careful not to run out and be completely hopeless. The first person to have their opponent hit 0 health is declared the winner. With over 450 cards currently in the beta alone, Hearthstone offers an array of opportunities to build neat strategies and deck themes oriented around various playstyles. Similar to other strategy games, there is no one deck to rule them all. It comes down to who prepares the best and who gets the draws.
Hey everyone, I'm joined by Atrocis on the desk. Dan, I want to talk to you a little bit about the format of Fight Night. You helped with us collaborate on how the format would be, making it ultimately a team game. Can you talk to us what inspired that concept?
You know, I think that Hearthstone is much better as a team game. If you look at the way that it's actually done at the top level, these are actually pre-existing teams that are fighting here today. You don't just build a good deck in a vacuum. You don't learn how to play well in a vacuum. You have people that you trust and you respect and you play with them a lot. So it seemed obvious to me, at least, to make it a team battle, which I think is very exciting. These players that are always working together, are their ideas and their play better than the others? And so I thought a team battle would be a really great way to do it.
And how do you think that team dynamic has been played out now that we've seen a few matches of it?
I think it's really cool so far because you see completely different play styles within the two teams and different concepts. Like, for instance, one team playing like a lot of taunts, whereas the other team doesn't really like them as much. They like, you know, the frozen giants or something like that. So I think it's really cool. It's adding a lot of flavor to it instead of just having a random smattering of players, some of them playing the same, some of them not. There's nothing there to explain why that is, whereas here, well, they're teams.
One thing that's been really interesting for me is how some teams, they use the same deck, but you see 2 players take different perspectives on how the deck should actually be played out, and as a result have different results. So I definitely think that's one of the cool things, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Like, for instance, on my team, you see Nyhx yesterday playing, what was he playing? The aggro mage, and he was playing it very controllingly, whereas you watch Nyhx play it, and it's just the face over and over. And that's a cool thing about Hearthstone. You can play the same deck in multiple different ways and have success.
The last thing I want to ask you about is how do you come to know these guys? Can you talk a little about how the teammates came to choose for at least the DogeHouse?
Well, you know, when I started playing Hearthstone, I got invited to the BlizzCon tournament, and I knew I was like pretty good at card games, but I just did some research who were the best players, or in my opinion, the best players, and I found ECOP pretty quickly and just kind of made friends and met these guys, and I thought they were great. They helped me out a lot there, so here I am with DogeHouse.
And what's it like interacting with them here inside Berlin?
Oh, they're great guys. They're actually really cool and fun and funny. So I'm having a blast inside and out.
All right, well, Dan, it's time to pick our players for the next match. In fact, you have to go spin the wheel, so you better get to it.
I'll do that. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me on the desk.
Our Hearthstone Fight Night will consist of a 4v4 team battle. Both players will bring 3 different classes. The person who beats his opponent's 3 decks wins a point for the team, some personal cash, and team bonus money, which ranges from $250 to $5,000. The team that can clean sweep their opponents, that means not dropping a single game in any series, will also get a bonus $5,000 in their pockets. If the series ends prematurely, we have some bonus money rounds. Here's the catch. We only have 4 players, so the 5th match will have a secret ace player that will be revealed when the time comes. Team captains will choose their opponents randomly by spinning our ESGN wheel. Once someone has played, they will be ineligible until the ace match.
It's time to meet our players. From Team DogeHouse, the BlizzCon 2013 champion, Artosis. The guy who let all the doggies out, Eka. His top deck skills are top-notch, Nyhx. And the young prodigy, Nyx. The strategist, Monk. The stone cold killer, StrifeCro. The mayor of Valuetown, Trump. And the king of dreams, Kripparrian.
Hey everyone, Artosis will be joining me on the commentary desk. Dan, I want to ask you, it looked like you guys were really intent on picking the right things. Can you talk a little about what you're discussing over there in the corner?
Well, we look at the lineup of decks that they have and the lineup that we have, and then we try to assign each deck what type it is. Like, for instance, if this Mage is a Giants deck or an aggro deck, is this Druid a life gain deck? Is the Paladin a life gain deck? And we just kind of focus on that and try to figure out the deck that's going to start well and not get countered too easily. And this time, we thought it was going to be Druid.
All right, well, Druid versus Mage for StrifeCro versus Nyhx, a rematch from the previous matches.
And it looks like it is going to be Giants Mage going up against the Druid deck that we really altered a lot from yesterday that Nyhx has.
So talk to me about some of the things that you feel like was worth altering.
Well, you know, we played around a little bit with Druid yesterday, but we thought that they had some good ideas, so we mixed a few of those in here. Like, we do definitely have a decent amount of life gain that try to counteract a deck like this one, because, you know, the Giants deck is just so good that you kind of need to account for people playing it just in case.
Always, yes.
And, I mean, here StrifeCro is, he's playing it, so hopefully these changes are going to help out.
All right, well, we'll see as the game already has begun with a big Inner Fate and a Harvest Golem on turn 1. But we're going to look and see how StrifeCro is going to respond to this. Does have the available turn 2 Frostbolt, but again, this is what Harvest Golem excels at.
Yeah, you know, Harvest Golem doesn't care about that Frostbolt too much. It's a hard choice because you notice he has a Mountain Giant in his hand, so he has to decide, do I wait and just take some extra damage to get out a quicker Mountain Giant? Or do I start to deal with this? Either way, he's taking 2 damage next turn.
Right, so in this scenario, what would you suggest he do?
I think, personally, for me, I would Frostbolt.
Okay, well, StrifeCro is always the one who does his own thing.
Well, this isn't too bad a choice either, right? Acolyte of Pain, you can start drawing some extra cards off of it. So
You should be able to draw 2 cards.
Yeah, definitely. I think that won't even get attacked. I think Nyhx will probably ignore that and just go for the face at the moment. because you don't want to give him extra cards. Let him attack into you for those cards.
Yeah, make him on his turn rather than you give it to him extra and get 2 instead. So now we have Nyhx. He has the opportunity to drop his own Harvest Golem, but he hesitated for a second, and I'm not exactly sure why.
You know, I think he's just really thinking. We told him, you know what, stay calm, take your time every turn, make sure that you're doing the right move. The only other play here is to make an actual attack out of his Druid, or I guess naturalize, but I can't imagine utilizing a naturalize this early. But based upon what he's seen, I guess he doesn't 100% know that this is Giants yet, but I mean, it's StrifeCro, so we assume.
It could be another form of aggressive Mage where you put out a lot of early minions. But we'll see what happens in the upcoming turns. Nyhx should be able to piece 2 and 2 together eventually.
Well, here we go. It looks like, already has that Alexstrasza in hand. That's pretty nice. The Mountain Giant doesn't look like it's coming out anytime soon. And decides to just draw a card. Not the most useful card to have in your hand this early, but he does get a Molten Giant.
This is a very nice hand and gets set up. He even has a Pyroblast for later turns as well, so this is pretty good setup early on, I would say, for StrifeCro.
He actually decides to take out that Acolyte of Pain. So here we are with a couple golems on the board, but this next turn, this Mountain Giant can come out.
Yeah, on turn 4, a 3-mana Giant can come out and immediately put incredible pressure on his opponent.
And you know what? If he takes a bit more damage, that Molten Giant can come out pretty quickly as well, and that's when things can really get out of control.
How do you do a 2/8H? Druid already has a hard time with removal, but look at this, using the Naturalize, and gonna force his opponent to draw cards. One of them is too full. It's a Loot Hoarder that gets discarded, but he's gonna put on a lot of damage. Wow! A big discard for
that's big. There's only so much damage in the mountain, in the Giants deck. And what did you just lose, right?
Oh, okay, that was the Molten Giant.
Yeah, the Molten Giant. That's like such a big deal that went down. That means that he probably only has 2 more Giants total. 1 more Mountain, the Molten we see in his hand, the Alexstrasza, a couple Pyroblasts. That's basically all the damage he has. So already a big chunk of the Druid's work has been done for him.
I mean, Naturalize essentially went big 2 for 1 right there. Managed to take out 2 Giants with 1 play. So excellent start here for Nyhx. Gonna drop down the Sunwalker and protect his Harvest Golems in the board. Very, very good start. 2 health left, which means hypothetically both Giants can come out, but only 1 will.
Yeah, well, you know what? This is, I like that he can get the Molten Giant out right away, and he has enough freeze in there to hold on for a bit, but he can't attack so easily. The Sunwalker is being a pain, and the Druid is at 32 health, so that's a big deal.
So he can drop the Cone of Cold. He also has a Doomsayer in his hand, but he wants to save that for now because with Harvest Golems on the board and you have a Doomsayer, it just feels kind of moot.
That's a fact. And, you know, he needs to get some damage out there anyways, so he'd kill his own Molten Giant. He's got to be careful about that.
Auctioneer is a card that seems your camp likes to favor in the Druid deck to flavor, especially with things like Innervate and cheap spells.
I have to say, I think that Gadgetzan has been the absolute MVP out of all of the Druid decks. Like, I think that they came with a lot of great ideas, but I think Gadgetzan just adds so much staying power. You can draw so many cards off of it, especially in a situation like this where you get into the end game and a card like Innervate isn't as exciting anymore.
I also see a Black Knight, which is a really cool throw-in because you never know what kind of taunts you deal with. But we know that this deck doesn't run too many taunts, the Mage deck that is, and so you can kind of throw it out early. You could be afraid of as a defender of Argus, but really nothing besides that.
Yeah, that's kind of a card to counter other decks, not particularly the Giants Mage for sure.
Oh, Frost Nova, which is really important if you want to combine that with the Doomsayer.
Yeah.
But again, still a really tough position for StrifeCro.
Yeah, you can see StrifeCro is considering using a Fireball on this taunt so he can swing for 8, and that's not a bad play. That would even give him enough mana to freeze everything up again if he likes, but it will pop at least one of the Golems.
Maybe even use a Frostbolt on some of the other stuff, but we'll see what he's actually going to execute. He does use the Frostbolt on the Black Knight and swing, bringing his opponent down to 25, passing it over.
Okay, that's not a bad play at all. You know, he doesn't have a Blizzard yet, but it's going to come eventually, right? So He has everything kind of in range for that.
Well, here's the thing too. He also has 2 Pyroblasts in his hand. It's starting to become turn 8 and turn 9, so maybe there's some room for him to potentially make a big swing comeback if Nyhx isn't careful.
Yeah, Nyhx does certainly have to be careful. This can get out of hand really quickly with even 1 giant on the board. As you hit 9 mana, that Alexstrasza can just end the game. Well, looks like he's going to play the Novice. I actually would like to see Gajazan come down and innervate and swipe to try to, I don't know, try to start drawing some extra cards.
Yeah, but now he can't fit it into his mana curve. He does have 8 damage on the board, though, with the Harvest Golems and the swipe, and to remove the Giant, that's at least 1 threat nullifier.
Yeah, in fact, he could deal even 1 more, it looks like, with activating Hero Power, and that would bring him up to 26 health. The thing is, this Giant is there, and he can't afford to take 8 damage. He absolutely cannot, so he has to consider all sorts of things here, and in fact, double attacking the Giant and swiping him might be the play here. It's possible.
I think that's definitely what you want to do. Again, there's a lot of cards that StrifeCro has, and this is also the point of the game where you see a bunch of freezes on the board, and you want to try to proc Ice Block as soon as possible, but not at the cost of setting up a win condition against yourself.
Yeah, that's for sure. You know, we're hitting that 8 mana next turn with StrifeCro, and God, if everyone in Hearthstone doesn't know what Pyroblast is, I would be surprised.
They're going to learn sometime.
They certainly are. It's quite a card, and swinging for 8 plus 10, that's 18, bringing you down to 7, and then the next turn you're just basically dead no matter what with a hand that big for Mage.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that's interesting too that is in the hand right here I'm looking at right now, Keeper of the Grove technically counts as a spell, right? So does that synergize with the Auctioneer?
No, it actually, the battle cry that it comes in with, even though it acts like a spell, technically doesn't count as a spell, so it won't actually trigger the Gajazan.
So it doesn't proc that. All right.
Yeah, it's which is kind of weird because see, there's some spells that pop up, but it is the case.
Now this is kind of cool.
Ooh, that is cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
The one thing that I'm sad about though, all his spells are gone.
Yeah, he doesn't really have anything left, and he's gonna try to see if he can proc an Ice Block immediately.
Yeah, this is a big deal because you know what? He cannot do a Pyroblast and another Ice Block next turn.
Right, he has to use his mana to survive.
And he doesn't know what's in the hand. That could be like a swipe, it could be a claw, anything like that could kill him. So he absolutely has to throw something up.
Yeah, big power play from Nyhx, but also in the hand of StrifeCro, he does have that Frost Nova to stall for time and another Ice Block.
Oh, he's bringing him into death range right now. Not quite there yet. You know what? He's definitely going to pop him next turn, but he's also going to have to kill this Giant off, I would say.
Well, now he has an Ancient of War, and he's going to use his +5, and I guess he's shield up. Why not?
Yeah, and in fact, I was being silly and stupid there for a moment. Everything was frozen, so he couldn't pop it again.
Yeah.
This absolutely could go against him. Look at this. He's going to...
Oh, wow. StrifeCro immediately shotgunning.
Interesting.
And that looked like he wanted to pyro this Ancient of War. He's going to go for it, another swing to set a potential Fire Blast finish.
Yeah, this is a real problem. He has to draw life gain this turn. He has to have it. And you know what? He has a lot of life gain in the deck. Hasn't drawn it yet. He has to go Gajazan. He has to use Wrath to draw a card as well.
So he has 2 cards, 2 chances.
He's going to draw 2 cards, and if one of them is a healing touch, then he can win this game.
All right, the moment of truth for Nyhx. First card is a Ysera. Second card. What's it gonna be?
Let's see, a claw, and that is only gonna, he can get up to 10 health, which is exactly how much damage can be done.
Wow, what an incredible turn of events.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, there's already, the Pyroblast is in the hand. He's gonna bring him down to exactly 1 health.
Wow, I can't believe it's gonna come down to 1 health versus 1 health.
This is rough, man. And with the 3 armor, and the, of course, the 7 health, that's Fire Blast range right there.
Pyroblast should be able to finish off the game, as StrifeCro does have a little bit of wiggle room, and he takes the first game in this best of 5 in a pretty explosive fashion.
Well, yeah, I guess Pyroblast is about as explosive as you can get.
Wow.
So kind of a rough loss there for Nyhx. He definitely drew a decent amount of cards that game, but didn't get to any life gain. Again, if he had gotten, you know, actually any life gain at all, he could have won that game, but didn't get it. And he does have a good amount of life gain in there. You know, he has, wait a minute, how many does he have? Oh, that's the wrong deck.
Yeah.
He has 2 Healing Touch and 1 Earthen Ring Farseer. So
do you have any Ancient of Lores?
no.
Oh, that's
none
one of the
those.
changes that you guys made. All right.
Yeah. Weren't digging the Ancient of Lores last night. Not for Nyhx, at least. But that's a good amount of life gain, and didn't quite get it, but that's okay, that happens.
And that's kind of what it is. Sometimes you just have the card, sometimes you don't. But his start was excellent. I felt like he was in a really good position to, but that key moment where he decided to, instead of kill off the giant, decided to go for an all-in essentially, ended up biting him back.
You know, if he had drawn life gain, or if there wasn't the second ice block, then I think he would have won the game. But you know what, StrifeCro, he had all the resources that he needed. He had drawn some cards. He set it up very well. And you know what, if someone from that team is to beat someone from DogeHouse, we prefer StrifeCro. We actually kind of, generally speaking, all of us think that he is actually the best player from that team.
Oh, I agree so, and he's aced twice for his team in clutch moments. But
He
now
beat Nyhx yesterday. This is a rematch.
True, it's true, and it could get into Nyx's head. You said he's a little bit of an emotional player sometimes.
He can be. He's younger. Definitely has a lot of experience because he's been playing CCGs for like 8 years already. I don't know how that happens when you're 20.
Yeah, he's 20 years old.
Yeah, but I mean, still, you know, he's someone that takes the game very seriously. He practices a lot, and to lose can be hurtful.
It's pretty rattling. And now he has 2 choices remaining: a Paladin and a Mage.
Okay.
I'm guessing the Paladin deck would be better set up. Oh, well, I was assuming there were some other kinds of Paladin cards in here, but what is your opinion? Paladin or Mage?
This is actually a really hard one. StrifeCro's decks are the exact same thing. So he has a Paladin and a Druid left. I think he's going to bring out the Mage.
All right. So
that's my guess.
Mage.
That's what that would have been my 2 cents over there, is bring out the Mage, try to pick up your win there, because the Mage does okay against everything. The Paladin, I feel like that's the last resort. It absolutely can beat all 3 decks, whereas, you know, the Mage can as well, I guess, but
Sometimes it's got a big counter as well.
yeah, I always feel more comfortable trying to finish with the Paladin, you know, like getting multiple wins with the Paladin deck personally.
Well, if you can't beat them, join them and maybe give them a Pyro Blast with themselves. Mage versus Mage coming up in game number 2.
Jaina versus Jaina.
You asked for it. My magic will
All right, so
tear
game number
you
2 has
apart.
begun, and we're looking at
Mage
StrifeCro's
versus Mage.
Yeah.
And it is important to note that this is not a Giants deck from Nyhx. Of course, what we're looking at here is a hand of StrifeCro, but it's going to be Giants Mage against Aggro Mage. And the Aggro Mage has a decent amount of freezing in it, so just something to point out there.
And I was talking to Crip, and he feels like Giants Mage is a lot better than the Aggro Mage in terms of the head-to-head matchup. What do you think?
In our testing, they go pretty close. So it's, for us, it was more what do you feel better with? Me personally, I feel like the Giants Mage is a better deck, and I think it matches up better in my mind. And in my practice as well, I think I've won more than I've lost with Giants Mage against regular Mage.
Well, it came up pretty clutch for you, 3 games in a row.
Yeah, that is for certain. But this is a very good start, Frodan.
3/4 Mana Worm immediately on the board.
Turn 2.
Turn 2 because of the coin as well. That's one of the best starts you can ask for, especially with a Shattered Sun Cleric.
Well, you can do a clear on turn 4 at least with a Frost Nova and a Doomsayer. And that's going to bring his health down pretty low as well. So a little bit annoying here for poor StrifeCro.
But if you're running the Giants, you never know if you draw an early Molten Giant and be able to get that advantage that way. Now we do see that StrifeCro is, well, he's struggling a little bit on the board, but we'll see how Nyhx is going to answer to it. He's going to drop the Acolyte of Pain.
Yeah, the way he put it in the center was to make sure that Cone of Cold would hit it if that is cast. Unfortunately for him, StrifeCro has the Doomsayer, and this is a deck, this version of Giants that StrifeCro is playing plays just 1 Doomsayer, and I'm pretty sure that Nyhx knows this, so at least he knows that this exact scenario is not going to happen to him again.
Right, this is it for him. He's inserted other interesting cards instead. For example, we've seen a Nat Pagel appear once or twice for StrifeCro, so we'll see if he's able to implement that. But a Doomsayer, very powerful card, I like it.
Yeah, it fits so well in this deck, you know, it's a really good choice. And the beautiful thing about this Doomsayer, 7 health, this is the perfect turn for it because there's a Fireball, yeah, but that's 6 damage, you know?
Yeah, it's the beautiful thing besides its golden locks and amazing abilities.
Indeed.
All right, let's see what's going to draw from that Acolyte Bane. At least get some value out of it.
Yeah. Still, I have to say that right now in this game, if I was StrifeCro, I'd be feeling very confident going forward.
Yeah, now that he's continued to draw more cards and he's cleared the early board aggression.
And even plays the Blood Mage Thalnos.
All right.
Oh, that's
Draw
kind
more
of
cards.
that's an interesting one. Yeah, if he dies, he gets it back and can play the Mountain Giants more easily. And if he doesn't, that's a lot of bonus damage.
Yeah, and I feel like StrifeCro in general is just a very greedy player for the card advantage. He just loves playing it, and not too surprising because he is a Zerg back in StarCraft
Yes,
too.
that's well said. I definitely have to agree with you on this assessment of StrifeCro. Now, let's take a look here, right? This is Nyhx, and he's got a very good hand, but he's got to get him a bit lower. Now, how does he go about doing this? Do you play the Mono Worm and Dark Iron Dwarf him?
I mean, you could, but
Because I think he wants to ping as well, but if he pings, there's no good 3-drop. It would literally just be Mana Worm, which is not a great, like just playing Mana Worm, ping, pass, that's not cool.
you do, but you also leave up the Thalnos for any other thing because we do have a lot of potential spells on the opponent's side, and that makes it really difficult.
Something like a Blizzard
Yeah.
on the next turn would just destroy him if he doesn't kill him. So looks like he's going to decide to go ahead and kill
It's
him
the
off.
safer route here.
Yeah.
And then you can pass it back to his opponent, or you can drop a Frostbolt if he really wants to. But
Oh, wow.
All right.
Well, you know what? It charges up the Frost Worm
Mana
as well.
Okay.
Or the Mana Worm, yeah.
Frost Worm.
I think of it as Frost Worm. I don't know.
well, it might as well be.
I hope you like my
All right, so going to drop this down, draw another card, and definitely can play one of these Mountain Giants. Good play.
Cool. And so the Mountain Giant is up. We'll see how Nyhx is going to be able to respond. He draws his second Argus.
This is okay. I feel like in this situation, you go Dark Iron. He's thinking about it right now, but I really think you Dark Iron that, right? And attack for 4 and do a ping. And you just try to race him
Race
at this
him down.
point.
I thought you were talking to the Mountain Giant. I'm like, I don't think that would be the best idea. I'm like, I don't
No,
know.
certainly not.
Yeah, he flirted with the idea of Fireball and potentially taking the Mountain Giant, but I do think, well, racing against a Giant's Mage is always tricky because if you make if you even attack him too much, you give him the opportunity to drop those Giants, and then all of a sudden you have to deal not with just one Giant, but 2 or 3.
Very true. You know, if this was one turn later, he could do something like a Fireball, hit for 7 this turn, next turn Pyroblast, something like that, but I don't think the Fireball is a good play here. It's starting to look a little bit grim for Nyhx. And if Nyhx loses here, man, it's just
comes
so
down to his
difficult.
Paladin.
Yeah, to 3-kill with the Paladin. It's definitely a possibility, but StrifeCro is so strong.
And he's got some of his best decks coming too, because we've seen StrifeCro play his Druid to perfection, as well as he has a Paladin deck as well. Let's see what Nyhx is really going to plan though, because this is a critical turn. You can kind of look back and say this turn 6 could be one of the big deciding factors.
Absolutely. You know, this is really strong, and a lot of this comes down to having that Doomsayer earlier on. I don't think by any means that StrifeCro would be dead right now if he didn't have that Doomsayer, but it's definitely put him in a position where it's now Nyhx fighting for his life.
What's that gonna be? What would you do in this position?
It's the Dark
Dwarf
Iron.
race?
Yeah,
And ping?
attack for 4, right, and ping. So that's 5, bring him down to 13, and then you have like really close to lethal. It looks like he wants to save his own life a little bit. If he's gonna play the Argus, that's what that's all about. He's saying, okay, you're probably gonna have to attack this with the Giant.
Yep.
And that's not a bad play either, because he can always go for a Dark Iron Dwarf next turn as well.
Something that's also really small and subtle is that 4 mana instead of 3 mana Giant is gonna be a pretty big difference in terms of what you can go. You can toss out 2 Giants next turn hypothetically, but if you're at 14 life, you can't toss out 2.
Well, we'll have to see what StrifeCro does. I'm wondering why he's thinking so heavily right now about the ping.
I really think it's a life count. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, well, the ping, okay, I actually know what he's doing, because we were talking about this earlier. We're trying to be pretty careful with exactly what gets pinged against Frost Giants, because you want to get them to 1 with Mage if possible. You don't want to hit them for 10 when they're at 10. You want them to be at 11 when you hit them. So I think he was counting up and figuring out how to hit the damage up so that if it comes down to it, he can just ping every turn until all the ice blocks are gone.
I see. Okay. Well, that's very smart. Well, there is one ice block, speaking of which, inside of StrifeCro's hand, as well as 2 giants that he can drop.
That's pretty strong.
Yeah. 1 mountain giant and a molten giant that can be dropped even later.
A mountain giant's a pretty good call here. It looks like he just has to attack the frost storm with the giant. I don't see any good way to get rid of it. Like he could fireball it and swing for 8 as well. That's definitely something that would work.
Swing for 9, in fact.
Yeah,
Not his
9
engineer getting
indeed.
in the party.
Yeah, and that is a lot of damage.
He has his mirror image as well. Pretty underrated card, but it's been falling out of popularity recently.
Yeah, I don't know if I like it. Do you like it?
I like it if you compare it with a mana worm early on, but that was back in that was like about a month ago where you would do that, or maybe arcane missiles and just rack up damage and then get some stuff that way.
Yeah, it combos really well with that, like especially if you play Sorcerer's Apprentice, because then it becomes free. But personally, I don't really like it. I don't think the guys on my team like it that much either.
You don't think it provides enough stall at all?
Normally not. I think in this game it is going to. Like these two are going to be
situational
a pain.
use.
Yeah.
People are gonna watch and be like, "This card's amazing," and they run like 2. Whoa!
Sick draw
Nyhx
right there.
gets the card he absolutely needed.
Yeah,
And now he can bring his
He almost
opponent-
doesn't have to think here, right?
Yeah.
This is the only play.
Oh my goodness! And he brings his opponent within. He could ping and put.
Oh
Mountain
my
Giant
God!
in, like, range.
This is perfect. If he attacks for 3, pings for 1, it brings him down to 11. Then you can Pyroblast,
Yep.
and then what
Set up
this
the
is going
block.
to do is force a giant to actually hit the
Argus
defender
instead.
Argus, because otherwise you're just going to get pinged out over time. He needs to do that ping. He needs to do that ping.
I mean, yeah, you always
know-
kind of flirt with the idea of pinging the giant as well to set it up.
Yeah, he might have set that up to just kill that giant before it can attack again, which means he's not going to take any damage from giants. That's actually a very smart play.
And so now StrifeCro, he knows he's in critical health, but he's not entirely out of it yet. There's still some opportunities. He's got 3 freeze options in his hand. But
And I think he needs to freeze too.
Yeah.
Like if he doesn't freeze, then this is absolutely getting pinged next turn, and he knows that, so he does freeze.
All right, so let's see what Nyhx draws in response. He got the Dark Iron
Uh-oh.
Dwarf.
Wait a minute, that's like 24 damage. That's actually just a kill next turn.
Yeah.
That's lethal. He doesn't have anything to draw. He has to actually pyro a giant.
He can fireball a giant as well. He does have that at his disposal.
That would be much better.
And ping it as well.
And you know what? Playing an Argus is actually another possibility as well.
Yeah, but you never know what your opponent can do in response. So taking out 2 giants could be a good way, pacify. Plus, that's a lot of damage outside of the deck as well.
Yeah, and this actually sets up not. Oh boy! Oh my.
Second pyro.
And that's
Oh
it.
my goodness.
I mean, that's. Let's think here. How could he? The thing is, he doesn't play any ice blocks in this deck, and there's an
Oh,
ice block up,
no.
which means that there is just a pyro incoming. That's it.
Yeah. And Nyhx, he's gonna go pyro after the Argus, which is an interesting combination.
Yeah,
I think he realizes, yeah,
he's
he can't
got
do
8
anything.
health. If he had 10, he could try. But
Oh no!
that's it, man. StrifeCro
Wow.
is up 2-0 against Nyhx.
Wow, StrifeCro again coming through big in this Mage versus Mage matchup. Look, they're not even breaking a sweat, walking off.
No, StrifeCro is such a talented gamer, man. He's so top tier in so many different games, so many esports. And the thing is, he doesn't even consider himself a professional. This guy studies.
He wants
plays,
to be a game designer.
Yeah, and he says that he plays casually, but I have to say he's one of the toughest opponents that I've ever played against. I practice with this guy some. He's just a great player.
So that leaves Nyhx down to his last deck. It's going to be Paladin. How do you think his Paladin deck squares off against what we've seen in the Frozen Giants?
It absolutely can win. It's got the elements needed to possibly win this. And there's a little bit of changes that have happened to this Paladin deck compared to some of the Paladins that we saw yesterday. But yeah, I mean, there's a chance. There's always a chance.
I certainly hope so, because
I feel like Paladin is the one class that always has a chance against anything.
yeah,
I don't know if you agree with that.
No,
but-
I agree with that too, especially with some of the variants we've seen this in some of the fight nights as well. We've seen the Paladin perform exceptionally against all kinds of aggression, against the burn, as well as against some control types as well.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. You can play like a very aggressive Paladin, you can play a very controlling, you can play a mid-range, you can play like a teched out one, like what we saw from Trump on the last fight night. There's all sorts of options in that deck.
So StrifeCro feeling pretty confident. He hasn't really lost very much in the Fight Night series as far as I remember.
No, I mean...
He's not even really talking much strategy.
He killed Nyhx last night, right? And that was a 3-1. And he won against Nimsh 3-0 in the ace match.
Yeah.
And
now he's up 2-0.
Yeah, no, that's StrifeCro, MVP of Fight Night.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And it's cool because he's been winning with different decks too. He did really well with his Druid deck. He's doing really well with his Mage deck. So it's showing versatility in his play because they do require different decision-making skills. In my opinion.
In fact, he doesn't even. We don't even know if he has a third deck. I mean, that's for sure though. This is one thing that we keep on mentioning. We keep watching StrifeCro waiting for weakness, and he never delivers. Even if his hand looks like crap.
He somehow pulls it out.
He pulls it out. He makes a good board position, and the guy really is a top-end player.
All right, here we go. Game 3. Let's find out if Nyhx can make it back. Or will StrifeCro finish off a kill for the 3rd time?
Uther versus Jaina.
You asked for it.
I will fight with honor.
Here we go, game number 3 between Nyhx versus StrifeCro. Looking at the Paladin hand of Nyhx. He's got a Shattered Sun Cleric and a Harvest Golem.
It's not the greatest start, not the worst start, I think. It's just kind of okay. You're not going to get a quick rushdown start with this deck, really, against Frozen Giants. You have to get a board presence going and make them burn through all their freeze.
So then, what would you kind of pinpoint as the core elements of this deck for Nyhx?
All right, the core elements, I would say, the Aldor Peacekeepers, you want to hit those on Giants or Alexstrasza, make those have 1 attack so that their damage output is gone. Absolutely, after any Alexstraszaing, or if they try to just go for your face with their spells, you have to have your Guardian of Kings and your Lay on Hands ready. That is the key to the deck. Yeah, the equalities come in helpful to kill off quick giants and stuff like that, but really it comes down to burning out the Mage deck. Well, burning out, maybe that's not the right thing to say. It's a deck that actually has all the burn, but getting rid of all their damage, just making it so that they just don't have anything left to kill
no more
with.
bullets. Let them empty it out and essentially have an empty magazine. After a few turns already, we see a pretty decent start for Nyhx as he does get his Sword of Justice. That's one of the very important parts of the deck in terms of pushing out stronger minions. And now StrifeCro, he's trying to arm and load himself. He does have 3 important cards. Oh, actually, he has 2 Pyroblasts in his hand already. But in that respect, he should kind of...
not the best hand to start at this time. Like, you want to start drawing around turn 6 or 7.
But he does have some key components like the Ice Block and the Frost Nova as well. See what he answers. Right now, I don't think there's like a clear-cut answer on what he should do.
Yeah, he has a lot of options right now, and I think any of them would be okay. With the Mountain Giant at 5, there's going to be 5 mana next turn, so he can play 1 spell here and still get it out next turn.
So maybe the Mirror Image or the Ice Block.
Yeah, something like that I think is perfect, and chooses the Ice Block, totally fine. May as well get that out there. It needs to go out eventually, and the other turns can become clogged as far as mana goes.
Now we do see that Nyhx is going to draw another Sword of Justice and a True Silver. This is a little frustrating sometimes to draw too many weapons, and it's like, I don't need you yet.
Yeah, that is a lot of weapons, actually. He definitely would like to see some other minions, like maybe a 1-drop or something to help use up those sword charges, but he's got a pretty good board space right now. Like, a Blizzard doesn't kill everything, so that's nice.
But here comes the Giant.
It's a scary thing, but Aldor Peacekeeper is already in his hand, so this is exactly the type of situation that you want him for.
Very nice. We've seen people even pair it with something like a Stampeding Kodo sometimes with a nice combination.
Oh yeah, that's actually, I haven't seen that, but that's actually really smart.
It's one of the cute combos I see. I was like, when someone did that to me, I was like, oh, screw you. I like applauded and I was like,
right on. I know what you mean. That's what I felt like in the first few fight nights when Ancient Watchers with taunt. I'm like, oh really? Okay.
All right. Now we do see a pretty well-developed board for Nyhx.
Yeah.
I'm
Pretty darn good.
Ooh, but here comes the Nat Pagel that we were talking earlier. And
Do you like Nat Pagel?
I feel like if it draws at least one card, it's good because it absorbs 4 damage and it serves its purpose, a 1-for-1. But
Yeah.
if it doesn't, sometimes I feel like, oh wow, I really feel like I had another card.
I like that they thought to put it in this deck, but personally, I don't care for it that much. It's not a card that I'm really fond of at this moment.
Well, because what are you trading off for the Nat Pagel? If you kind of look at his deck, he didn't have a second Doomsayer, for example. Sometimes you can kind of say, would I like a second Doomsayer instead? Maybe another form of draw, like a Acolyte of Pain. I don't know.
And yeah, I would prefer something like that, something a little bit safer. But you know what? It's kind of like there could be a second Loot Hoarder in there, and they've decided to use a Nat Pagel instead, or something like that. And I guess it's like somewhat comparable to a Loot Hoarder.
I think it's also stylistic for StrifeCro at least.
Now, StrifeCro actually seems a little bit unlucky right now here, I have to say, Frodan. He doesn't have any worldwide freeze. Like he had, I think, only one so far this game, right? That one
The
Frost Nova
he played the previous turn hasn't drawn his Blizzards.
And that makes it pretty tough because it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, he's going to get his Ice Block cracked.
Yeah,
Well, maybe not if he uses Mirror Image, right?
Yeah, if he uses Mirror Image, he should be able to stall out most of the damage. StrifeCro is calculating what to take out. But yeah, he's having to spend his spells on minions instead of the health, which is still good stuff.
Yeah, and this is what the Paladin deck wants. It wants you using these spells. The Frostbolts, normally you don't really count those. Oh wow, he's going to go for the head with that. Okay. But you know, you want it, like, for instance, if he can force him to use a Fireball on one of his minions, that's fantastic.
Big. That's big.
Yeah, that's 6 less damage that this deck has.
And StrifeCro trying to figure out how he's going to end his turn with the Frostbolt, thinking about the Harvest Golem or the Peacekeeper.
I think the Peacekeeper's a pretty good call here.
And the Harvest Golem just has so much more at going for it after it dies. But instead, he bypasses both and goes straight for the Paladin.
Wow, that's interesting. And Inequality comes up. So now he has the combination of Equality Consecrate, which just clears the board, which is nice.
Excellent for when the other giants come out.
And he actually has, let's see, 12, 13, 14 points of damage available. So he can't quite break everything this turn. I guess he could do a total of 16 damage if he really wanted, but he's not going to use that Consecrate. And not breaking it, every turn that you do not break Ice Block, that is a big, big deal for the Giants deck.
Yeah, it's always an extra turn, essentially, for your opponent. You just feel like you're a turn behind whenever you're trying to set up like a win condition in that regard.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So now we do have the Defender of Argus, which is a most likely inevitable play. But what does he do to follow that up?
I think maybe go Defender of Argus, attack with everything, that's 12, attack with the sword, that's going to bring it up to 16, and then play your Sword of Justice. That's, in my opinion, I think that's pretty solid.
He can't attack with the sword, though. That's kind of the
Oh,
annoying
that's right,
thing. It's
yeah.
like, there's
I'm
one
sorry.
charge left, but it might not matter to him. But if he wants to get that one extra piece of value, maybe summon out a token or whatnot.
All right, so just throws a token out there. May as well. You always want to use that unless you have 6 minions on the board. Sometimes it lives. Sometimes it lives to the next turn.
Yeah, you never know what use you have for it later. Wow, so we got a lot of damage in the hand of StrifeCro.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy because he can play the Molten Giant for 0, right? And with that's 22 damage that he has in his hand.
That's exactly what he needs, to, assuming his opponent didn't heal.
Well, he does have the True Silver Champion, so he can heal a little bit, but I mean that's 2 health. And if he attacks like one of the minions with it, it's 1 health.
But he needs 3 turns to play all of this, which is something he only, right now he only has 2 turns. So he still has a very tricky situation in his hand.
Hold on, wait, if he plays, double Fireball right now, Molten Giant, and then next turn his shield gets blocked, or his Ice Block gets popped, right? And then the next turn, he can Pyroblast.
And Mirror Image.
Yeah, but that's gonna leave, if Nyhx attacks.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
No silence card needed for that.
I think he's just, it looks like Nyhx just barely is, by 1 life point, gonna win this. Am I right? Something like that?
Unless StrifeCro top decks something else, maybe a second dice.
Yeah, if he top decks something like that, it's all his.
Yeah, because then he has the damage necessary, or vice versa. If Nyhx somehow draws a big healing card, but we see a fireball on the minion instead.
Okay.
And now he's gonna neuter the aggression at the cost of some of his damage.
Huh. All right, so this is a different play than what I thought we were gonna see here, but StrifeCro is a very smart player, so we got to look at this very realistically. See, he can do 5 attack with the sword, gain the 2 life, and then 8 plus 10, that's 18, 19, 20. Yeah, it's still looking like a Nyhx victory to me.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see what cards are drawn. But I do like that StrifeCro at least is setting himself up to get lucky at this point.
Yeah, I know. It's very, very smart. You know what I want to see here, Frodan? I want to see Argus and the little guy attack.
Yep.
Attack with sword. That's going to pop it.
Yep.
And then quality consecrate. I think that's a really strong set of plays.
Yep, and clear the board and just set it up for that much harder. 24 health's a pretty it's a pretty good number.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. He might just use the consecrate to pop everything and save the sword charge.
Sure.
Which is actually, I guess, fine as well, because you can't deal 22 damage in 1 turn with 9 mana. I'm pretty sure, right?
I
From
don't
an empty
think
board?
so, yeah, as far as I remember. I don't think enough ice... well, I guess if you had, hypothetically, enough ice lances.
Okay, you have totally got me there.
That's what you think,
that is
but
a
I have
fact.
5 ice lances in my hand, so...
Well, I guess the way you would get that is by playing Priest, right? Steal all those ice lances over and over.
So
okay.
Now we have a Doomsayer, but still 1 health
think that's
left.
it.
Yeah, he can't really save himself.
Right? Wait.
Yeah, he's just gonna concede immediately.
Yeah.
He does it
because he had the sword, so that was it. And there you go, Nyhx takes it with that Pally deck.
All right, and that's the start of something, because 1 game down in the books, and that's what all it takes, because StrifeCro, he's not really losing that often, but when he does, we'll see how he's going to respond to it.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, he has a Paladin deck, and he has a Druid deck.
Paladins want to take it late, but Druids also want to take it late as well, so that kind of plays into each other's strengths. And I feel like Druid late, especially the way StrifeCro plays, favors his style because you get card advantage, which is something he loves, and you get an opportunity to get out your best minions against Paladin.
Yeah, you know, I think that's a fact, and this Paladin deck isn't really that aggressive. It's very much more mid-rangey, and it's very tech bout. So it's not like you're gonna see like Leper Gnomes coming down and redemptions and just like constant damage incoming. It's the damage, it takes a while to build up the board. Once it does get built, it kills you pretty quick, but it takes a while.
I want to get your opinion on the overall performance of Druid we've seen so far. I mean, a lot of people used to play in the very beginning of beta when it was doing really well, and then Blizzard nerfed it. And then we saw the rise of Priest to kind of phase out things like the Druid. What's your take on it so far? You think it's just only going to be temporary and get cycled out too?
I think the new patch that happened like 1 day before we started the first fight night when that happened, like it happened while we were all traveling here. Then we all got together and started talking in Team DogeHouse, and after talking for a little bit, we're like, you know what? I bet you they're gonna play some Druids, because suddenly Priest is not that good anymore, because that's why Druid went out of style, is how good Mind Control was. That was gone, and it felt like that might be a really good call, especially with how strong Warlock was, how strong Mage is. Druid has a lot of heal, a lot of taunts, and with Priest out of the picture, it makes sense to me. I think that it's a really smart shift in the metagame.
All right, well, we'll see. If it's going to be the Druid, is it going to be the Paladin from StrifeCro? We find out here in game number 4.
Uther versus Malfurion. I must protect the wild. I will fight with honor.
All right, game 4, and starting hand for Nyhx, the Sunwalker. Probably mulligan that.
Yeah, I think that came in post mulligan. That would be a weird one to start with, especially without the coin. Well, there's an Innervate and the coin over here, so we can have some explosive stuff. Do you think first turn Harvest Golem?
Yeah, it's a very versatile opening. It's just really hard because the Harvest Golem has 2 lives.
It does.
And it just
It's
feels
like
so hard to deal with.
about one-fifth of a cat or so. Not quite, but you know, it's a pain to get rid of.
Exactly 2/9 of a cat. But
yes, that is true. But for those of us not good with our fractions, which is exactly me, which is because I said 1/5. So there you go.
Absolutely. I think the Harvest Golem is just so much use, and for this very reason, it can trade with the Fairy Dragon while giving out something of its own. And
look how annoying that is, right?
Yeah.
But there weren't any other really good plays, I don't think. And he's considering playing something else, but this is the only move, if you ask me. Like, wow, really? Sunfury Protector that early. Looks like, you know what? StrifeCro is a player that would make a play like this. And I don't think a lot of players would. A lot would just save that and say, you know, I want this for something else. But the way that he does it, he wants board control, and this is part of the reason why he's so good, I think.
You just put presence on it no matter what. I mean, we've seen him toss out naked Arguses, naked Clerics, all these kinds of things just because he needs something on the board. He's a big fan of it. And now we have a situation where he can once again seize it if he uses his power or uses a Defender of Argus.
Oh, wow. I'm actually a little bit surprised about that as well. But you know what? He is keeping that board presence. So looks like he, well, if he takes that out, he has to trade the 3/2. I think actually attacking with the other one might have been better, right?
It's the same damage either way, so actually the result would have been.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
But then he could have attacked for 3 damage. I don't know. I like to play taunts a little bit different than that, but StrifeCro is absolutely one of the best players in the whole world, so we'll go with him on this.
And he's also kind of creative. I talked to some players like Monk, and he says, yeah, StrifeCro is just so different from us, and that's why we like him, because not only is he great, but he also shows us new ways to play the game.
I do have to agree with that. That is for sure. Well, you know what? He has a lot of options here. I think a hero power isn't too bad. Get rid of that shield.
Divine Shield. It does limit your options. I don't think. I mean, you could use Keeper of the Grove, but I don't think it's the best use of it, considering you know there's some really powerful cards potentially in the Paladin deck, like a Tyrion or something that comes up later. You could save it for something later.
Well, it looks like so far StrifeCro has used 3 of his Give Taunt minions.
Yeah.
And considering he has so many Give Taunt minions, it makes me think that he probably has Ancient Watchers in there. And yeah, another squelch there. The mind games, Frodan.
Wow, the trash talk in this game is fast and furious, apparently, from this. Yeah, so he does have a lot of powerful cards, but you can't play that for another 2-3 turns.
It's a very late game focus his hand is right now. But you know what? These cards are going to do really well when they come out. Like, I think next turn we'll probably see Sunwalker. That's going to be hard to get through. This set of units, StarCraft, yeah. But this set of minions out here doesn't deal with the Sunwalker very well.
So now we have, well, the initiative is back onto Nyhx, and he does drop that Sunwalker. Yeah, it's going to be kind of annoying because whatever he has isn't good. Oh, wow. Clutch Tink Master.
Does he use the Tink Master here is the question, because he could silence that as well to get rid of the shield. Yeah, I mean, if he silences it, he can use his hero power as well as the 4/4 to take out the Sunwalker. And maintains his board advantage by having 2 minions on board.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
It wouldn't be a bad thing, and that plays into what StrifeCro likes to do. But StrifeCro does what StrifeCro wants, and he is going to Tink Master a squirrel.
Oh, good move right there, getting the squirrel. Well, that's what happens sometimes.
That's money.
Man.
I mean,
sometimes you get a 5/5 and win the game, and sometimes you get a 1/1 and lose it.
That's kind of the way the nuts go.
That's the way the nuts go. That is a quote right there. All right, well, just plays the Guardian Kings. You know, his mana curve is pretty filled out up at the top right now.
Yeah, now we start entering the big mana curve for Druid as well. I see 3 7s.
Yeah, this is, wow, 2 Ancient of Lores today. This is, you know, there's a lot of changes that have happened in this deck between the first set of Fight Nights and that best of 5 in this set.
A lot of response to both of your opponents. And now, well, which one Ancient would you drop?
Oh man, this is a hard question. I think that either are completely fine. I think I personally may have thought of dropping the Ancient of Lore for the 2 cards, just to fill up my hand a bit more and have more options the next turn, but I don't think that there's anything wrong with what he's done here.
Yeah, trading for board presence again in a 5/10 is really hard to bypass. We do have a Rag and a Peacekeeper option here for Nyhx, but the Rag, if it even hits the Ancient of War, wouldn't do anything. So instead, going to go for a safer route and kind of convert the attack damage.
You know, this is one of the reasons as well that he saved this deck for the end. Just like against the Frozen Giants, that Aldor Peacekeeper is getting rid of some of these threats. A 1/10 taunt is okay, but it's way worse than a 5/10.
Yeah, it's kind of like a souped-up version of the Worgen that's 1/7 and 4 mana. And it just it's basically a big shield. And StrifeCro, it will have some options to. I think dropping the lore here wouldn't be the worst option, but he also thought about the Druid of the Claw.
Yeah, there's a few options here. He could even do Keeper of the Grove to silence his own 1/10 and make it into the 5/5.
Oh, wow, that's really clever.
That would do a nice little trade as well. So that's an okay move. He has a lot of options here, and I think it's hard to say that one is incorrect.
All right, well, he's going to go for 2-card draw instead. Ooh, nice. Picks up Ysera and a swipe. Very important card.
Good play, and leaves the board with just a Harvest Golem, which of course is not going to get through that 1/9 very well.
And here comes a big card in Tyrian Ford Ring.
That's a good one.
Yeah, but keep in mind that I don't think that StrifeCro played his Keeper of the Grove yet, has he?
That's right, he has not. But you know what? If the Ragnaros comes out, I don't think he'll play it against that, of course. But that's going to be a real big pain. He could play the Ragnaros, and basically I think if he plays that, you're right though, the silence is just going to kill it. It's going to be a 6/6 that no one cares about.
Now, but how do you really read this situation? You see your opponent's like, he has 8 mana, what can you do next turn, turn 9? That's kind of what you're worried about. And so do I beat the Ysera potentially? These kinds of questions come to hand. A big moment. Awesome hit. And it lands on the Ancient of Lore.
Yeah, praise Ragnaros now.
Now on turn 9, how do you respond to StrifeCro? He does have what he would have loved to put the Ysera out, but...
He actually can kill Rag if he wants. He can play the charging Druid of the Claw as well as a swipe.
He has enough damage.
You know, does he want to do that? I think probably yes, because Ragnaros is just so good.
And you can trade, and you can kill off the Harvest Golem with the trade, and then still have the Ancient of War, which won't die. Refuses to die.
No, that thing has a lot of health. Ancient of War is such a funny card.
It
10
is.
health taunt. It's
it
like,
looked like
whoa.
he ate too many blueberries or something.
I've heard a lot of people say
He's like
that.
throwing it up.
Yeah. Well,
or it's like one of those old school bosses where the only way to beat him is like feed him stuff of some kind, like he's
oh god,
like
yeah,
shoot
no.
blue fireballs.
His mouth opens and there's a blinking light, and that's what you go for.
Pretty much. It's like the only opportunity, but the game somehow like completely reveals it to you. The only way to beat this otherwise impossible boss is toss fireballs in his mouth.
Yes, yes. I do enjoy the very old like Game Boy and Nintendo games as well.
So what's it gonna be, StrifeCro?
Well, I don't want him to do this because I think it's good, but as a good move, I think killing it with the Druid of the Claw and the swipe is fine. There's 1 Rag in each deck. Rag is one of the best cards in the whole game. I think that that's pretty solid.
Right, and he has his own Rag as well to deal with it.
Yeah. So, we'll see.
All right, so it's almost decision time. He's thinking about Claw.
Claw, okay.
Take out the Harvest Golem, and then, oh wow, gonna silence his own Ancient of War, a move that you were alluding to earlier.
That's. Can't complain about this.
Swiping.
That was a solid turn right there. That was good.
And gets full board clear this time.
Yeah, that was really well done by StrifeCro. Look at that. Once again, has the board position. And when you look at the hands, they're actually pretty similar in strength. But now that Keeper's out,
now
here he comes.
Tyrian Ford Ring has arrived, and I bet Nyhx was sweating up until that big relief. Woof.
Once they play that silence, man, everything's clear. All systems are check or something like that.
All systems go, I think. Oh wait, is it check? I think you're right.
No, I think you're right, actually. Whenever I try any sort of metaphor, it comes out wrong, so I think you're right on that one.
I didn't watch too many old school movies myself, so.
Well, what do you think here, Frodan? Does he go Ancient Lord, does he go Ysera? Does he play... I think those are really the 2 options, right?
Yeah, Druid of the Claw doesn't really help him here. I mean, and Harvest Golem doesn't develop his board very much. Yeah, Ysera won't really die immediately unless he.
Yeah, Ysera lives at least.
Ancient of Lore will just get
you're
demolished.
right.
You do draw cards, but your board presence doesn't improve, and you draw 2 cards. What cards are you looking for?
I think you're completely right on this. I think that he Ysera's. Yeah.
But then,
for cards you're looking for, a naturalize or something might be nice.
Yeah, actually, a naturalize, you're right. You could be fishing for it, and then you'd eventually get cards like Rag, anyways. A little.
Well, I guess we called it. That sometimes occurs. He gets to draw 2 cards, and he gets a very nice weapon.
Yeah.
So let's look at the bright side, I guess.
Yeah,
but once again, he clears the entire board. StrifeCro, you monster.
Yeah, and in the end, slowly but surely picking away at his opponent's health. I kind of looked for him, I was like, wow, is he really at 15 health already?
All right, here, I do want to say, I want to see a lay on hands, and I want to see the Ashbringer take down the 5/5 probably. I think that that's pretty solid.
Bring him back to 18 health. And then you get a good solid hand, and you have some options after.
Wait, he has how many cards? 3, 6, 7. Okay, yeah, no, totally fine.
Yeah.
Totally fine, you should do it.
All right, well, that seems like to be a pretty straightforward play. See the 3 cards that Nyhx will get. 2 equalities.
And True Silver Champion. What he really wants right now is a Consecrate. But he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, perfect. This is still fine for him, even though it looks like the Druid is winning in some ways. He has a huge hand, a full hand, and it's got very powerful cards in it.
Here comes the Ysera that StrifeCro's been holding on to. Let's see what dream card he's gonna pull.
What is it? And that's a nice. Awakens. That's so good when you're ahead on life like this.
Man, especially if Ysera doesn't look like he's gonna get taken out. But the Consecration draw.
Oh, that's sick. I think he has to do it, right?
Yeah.
A quality Consecration, he has to do it.
In some capacity, and he's almost not even really going to think too much about it.
Yeah. You have to get rid of Ysera immediately. If the dream cards are insane. If they were actual cards, we'd be putting them in our decks.
Yeah, 2 mana for a 5 damage clear. Oh.
So he's not going to do that? Because you would never play that first, of course.
Yeah, you don't want to take down your minion's health unnecessarily.
Yeah. He might be thinking of something funny right now, but I think he has to get rid of Ysera no matter what. He has to do it. If he doesn't get rid of Ysera, he will lose this game.
The card advantage goes away. He starts losing more health. Yeah, and well, now that he's played the equality, it's almost certain he'll follow it up.
Well, if he doesn't do Consecrate, I mean, well, I guess he could attack Ysera, but he's already low on health, man. You don't want to play with your health anymore.
Do you think he's just more considering his move afterwards? Yeah.
Yeah, but this is a great move right here.
Look at this.
Makes that Argent Squire look a lot nicer, doesn't it?
Sharing is caring.
Well, the Blood Knight, I feel like he steals, but I guess if they're on the same team, sharing is a way it can be looked at as well.
It's kind of like in Smash Brothers. I'm sharing lives, man.
Now, this Ancient Watcher is almost a dead draw. I think he only has 1 Sun Fury Protector left in the entire deck.
Does he? And he also used one of his keepers.
Yeah,
so
and that's generally
really tough to use right now.
That's a funny thing to silence a lot of the time. So, yeah, that's almost dead. But you know what? Maybe all those early taunts were because he knows that we like the Black Knight. Because he kills taunts. So that could have been like a very smart move from him. But that means the Ancient Watcher, this was like a nothing draw.
We'll see how StrifeCro is going to respond. Ysera awakens and take down the Blood Knight.
Wow.
All right.
We're getting pretty low on health here.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that one. But how else is he going to deal with a 6/6 Blood Knight without direct removal?
Yeah.
But this is going to allow a potential big slam if he draws a Black Knight or something. Oh, he has a Black Knight.
Yes, indeed he does.
Oh,
and there it is. That is a huge turn right there.
Wow, big tempo gain.
Seriously, that is so nice.
And he even has an Argent Protector as well.
And he should attack because he has another weapon in his hand, and suddenly big plays, man. This Paladin deck, it can take out anything.
Yeah, just 2-3 turns ago, StrifeCro was sitting at 30 health with Ysera on the board.
Yeah. What does he do now? He does have a Healing Touch. He can draw a card off of Novice Engineer. He can play another big taunt.
Yep.
In fact, he might want to do all 3 of those. Of course, if he does, he wants to lead with the Novice Engineer just to see what the next card is.
What options are. Always do that.
I think that might be a good play.
I'm trying to look at the rest of his deck, and I don't see too many other options. He has a Sylvanas, but he has another Ancient of War. Those are the only two other big cards.
That's right. Other than that, just what is in his hand, right?
Yep. Pretty much.
Yeah, it looks like
he used his Tinkmaster. He used.
Yeah, you're right. His deck is not. It has almost no threats left.
Yeah. Now he did pick up a Swipe, which is a nice card, but it's exactly falls short of everything.
It certainly does. Yeah, the taunt plus the heal is probably best here. He might save the heal. That's a possibility. And armor up instead, because he's probably not going to die next turn. But he has to be very careful about this because he could. I think taunt plus heal.
So, yeah, that's something I would do, but StrifeCro has also foregone healing to try to do something crazy before.
As you were saying earlier, Frodan, he can be pretty greedy at times.
Like a Harvest Gold, maybe instead.
No,
really?
I mean, he needs to develop the board a bit more right now, but not right this second. Healing Touch, because if he can just remove the taunt, that's lethal. 7, 8, 9, yeah.
Well, here it is.
Well, you know what?
Foregoing the healing.
He's a brave man.
And
True Silver plus Equality equals the game is going to Nyhx.
Wow, Nyhx with a big comeback. He's gonna take out this Druid of the Claw and finish it off, tying up the series 2-2, sending it to game number 5.
Very nicely done by Nyhx. I think that StrifeCro played very well, but the amount of little tricks and techie cards in this Paladin deck, it can be hard to deal with. There's all sorts of answers that you don't expect.
And Team Praise Ragnaros is looking a little confused on what just happened, but Team DogeHouse are charged and ready to go.
Getting excited, man. I'm really excited. So we're going to the last deck of StrifeCro here.
First time he's ever had to experience in his first 3 matches.
StrifeCro's like, wait, I lost 2 games in a day?
It's like, guys, this doesn't normally happen. I don't know what to say.
He's like, I am so sorry. It's like, well, listen, you might still just win, man. It's fine, it's fine. But here we are. These matches are really exciting in this next set of fight nights.
We've been seeing some really great Hearthstone, some of the closest games I've witnessed coming down to last health. StrifeCro, you can kind of make a case of that healing touch, but overall the position of Nyhx was just really strong. You don't know if that healing touch would actually change a lot of things.
I think that this is a good point. He was going for the win, not to not lose, but he was going for the win. He's saying, you know what? If he can get through this taunt, I'm basically dead anyways. So I may as well play the Golem, have more options in the next turn, and maybe start to take this back. So I have to respect that.
Yeah, and it's worked out for him several times in the past. And if you're wrong 1 out of 8 times, I don't think that's such a bad ratio.
No, certainly not. He does have the best record here at Fight Club so far. I'm sure of that. With a 3-0, a 3-1, and now he's 2-2. So that's pretty solid, man. That's 8-3.
8-3.
That's good.
That's really, really good. But now it's going to come down to the last game, game number 5. It's Paladin versus Paladin. Dan, talk to me about some of your thoughts on the matchup, because you've played a lot of Paladin in the past.
Yeah, Paladin versus Paladin, it matters exactly what the Paladin decks are like, but in general, it can come down to swords. The swords are very, very important. You know, how many qualities are people playing, and what are the late game cards that you have? Like, are you playing Lay on Hands? When do you play that? Guardian of Kings is a very popular card right now, but you know that's very expensive to play on turn 7, right? You play that down, whereas your opponent might play 2-3 spells that turn, you know, swarm around it. We're just gonna have to see what their draws in the early game are like, because I think you just have to control the board the entire time in Paladin versus Paladin.
Well, that gets me really excited for game number 5, where it's all on the line between StrifeCro and Nyhx, the rematch. Will Nyhx get the reverse sweep and the revenge? Will StrifeCro get his 3rd win in a row?
Uther versus Uther. I will fight.
Welcome to game number 5, Pally versus Pally. Whose screen are we on? Nyhx?
Yep, looks like Nyhx down there at the bottom. All right, so I'm looking at these couple of deck lists, and you know, the deck that we're seeing here, and you can see it right there, plain as day. This is that really teched out life gain plus kill minions deck. And I think that the Paladin deck from Team DogeHouse pairs up very favorably against this, in my opinion. This is meant to kill off like Warlock and Mage, basically, this Paladin deck.
Yeah.
Whereas the other Paladin deck is so much more mid-ranged, and it has so much more beef that things like Wild Pyromancers, it literally just won't care about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think while Pyromancer has some of the easiest clears in the game with things like Equality, yeah,
true.
it's kind of a double-edged sword in this regard.
And he does have a couple Avenging Wraths, a couple Consecrates, so I mean, he can clear the board a lot of times, but there's more beef overall, I think. Well, no, it's actually very similar at the high end of beef. In fact, they both have like Sylvanas, Guardian of Kings, Rag, Tyrion. So actually, it's pretty even up there. So yeah, I think this is going to be one in the mid game.
Can you talk to me about a little bit of, you're saying mid-game deck, but we don't see cards like Argent Commander in either of these Paladin decks. Can you comment on that?
You know what? It's so funny. The Argent Commanders just kind of got pulled out for some other cards that were high mana costs, such as the Black Knight, because taunts are very good right now. So it was a very techie decision, but normally speaking, it would always be in there, just always. This is just, it's so teched out for specifically Fight Nights.
Gotcha, cool. That's good to clarify, because some people are like, oh, is Argent Commander not good anymore? No, it's still a very good 2-for-1 card.
Yeah,
normally.
certainly.
So we do see the Argent Protector allowed the Fairy Dragon for Nyx to trade favorably, and an Elder Peacekeeper in response. But if you can feel, I feel pretty good when an Elder Peacekeeper uses it on 2-drop. It's
Yes.
like, all right, well.
That's a desperation move.
But he needs something on the board, and the good thing is it goes 2-for-1 if Nyx wanted to trade, but looks like he's gonna just go straight for the face instead.
Well, that's going to allow this Elder Peacekeeper to actually have his way with the board for a little bit, but you know what? There's actually a lot of options right now in the hand of StrifeCro.
Yeah,
Look at
Hammer
it.
of Fate, he could.
This is almost hard to decide what he wants to do. I wouldn't mind the hammer coming out for sure.
Yeah, drawing a card and trading. Yeah, because I don't think there's really that many plays you can make right now with Pyromancer, but you can coin Sylvanas as well.
Yeah.
Which,
it feels like he's trying to save the coin for the Pyromancer, but I think at this point it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And he does go ahead and play that Sylvanas. I want to ask you a question for it. I know you play a lot of Hearthstone. What are your thoughts on Sylvanas?
I think Sylvanas is way too strong. Like, the stats on it is insane, but you can't like nerf it, because if you make it the stats even weaker, like maybe a 4/4, then it becomes even better in some capacity.
Yeah, right? Isn't it funny like that?
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna make her weaker? Oh, that's even better.
All right, well, thank you.
so
She
much.
can't die to it.
So now
as
she's
well.
literally just a mind control. Excellent.
So I think her effect is really, really good. And then if you silence her, she's still a 5/5 on the board, and then you spent a card silencing for it, and it still doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
She's really, really effective.
She certainly is. Now, this is a hard situation. What do you do when the Sylvanas comes out? It's always it's a hard question. Do you push forward? I think in this part you don't. I think he has to trade out his minions, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so
I think,
too.
yeah, attacking that with Harvest Golem, maybe?
Well, he is thinking about the Sword of Justice, which is pretty free from it.
Ooh, that scares me just a little bit, because if he starts playing a lot more minions, then Sylvanas is going to be able to steal something really good.
Yeah. Well, for now, we'll see if it pays off for Nyx, but he is going to bypass it again.
Yeah, you know what? I'm kind of starting to get this, right? I think he might just focus on token generation for now, because, well, why not? He's going to be able to make a bunch of 2/2 tokens. Sylvanas doesn't really want to steal that.
Yeah.
She wants to steal something big.
Yeah.
So it would almost be like a waste of her.
Yeah, and then essentially you're spending 5 mana to take a 3 minion, which is not really the best in that scenario. So I think Nyx would be okay cutting losses with that. It's not the end of the world, Harvest Golem.
Well, looks like Harvest Golem is going to go out. That's going to use another charge, bringing up a 3/2, which means that she can suicide next turn if she wants.
Using the Hammer of Fate to continue grab control. A Mad Bomber, a card that's often underrated as well. Usually you see it all the time in Arena, but not really that often in Constructed.
Yeah, it's not really that popular, to be honest. And look at this. It lines up, and the Sylvanas is gone. 5 damage done to him, and did force him to clear his own board and slow him way down. So I think it was a pretty successful Sylvanas.
I think so as well, forcing 3 for 1 and getting a shot in the face as well.
So
Now,
the Mad Bomber, as you said, underrated. You like it in a deck like this?
I actually do, because especially with the ability to combo it with some other cards. I think because what happens is, and Quint was explaining this really well to me. He said, there's not a lot of good stuff that Paladin can really drop before turn 4. And if you want the ways to kind of control the board and have a response to your opponent, having things like Mad Bomber and like a Wolf Rider, for example, can get damage out and control the board enough so that in turn 4 you have an answer to everything.
You know, that's one of my favorite things about being at a place like this in fight nights, where you get to talk to these other players that think so differently. Because like I don't view it like that, but that's really smart, and I can't disagree.
Oh, big consecration draw. Wow, no equality necessary.
Yeah, that's actually really, really nice, because he was thinking of equality himself there with the Mad Bomber to try to snipe it, but here we are. And the board control goes to Nyhx heavily.
And all of a sudden, StrifeCro, oh, well, he does draw a second equality, so that with the Pyromancer could get a board clear, but it still doesn't improve his position whatsoever, so he's gonna do his Guardian of Kings.
Yeah. I think I would have almost liked that, but okay.
A Peacekeeper draw is big, but he also has a Ragnaros.
Well, if he
And
plays like the Ragnaros, let's say, that's going to be perfect for equality Pyromancer. Like, that's insane.
Yeah,
it's so good.
The value is pretty good. But I don't think he necessarily knows. Has he played a Pyromancer yet? Or
He has not. He hasn't played a Pyromancer. Yeah, no, he did play a Pyromancer. I'm sorry. So actually now he knows the entire deck list.
Right, okay.
Because this is actually a deck that Koryu or someone like that uses quite a bit, or it's a variation of that at least. And this morning we were actually looking at it. So.
Well, the Ragnaros takes out the Guardian King, so he does get some value, an 8 for 7.
Praise Ragnaros.
Wow, another big draw here.
Yeah.
For StrifeCro. Quality Consecration, doesn't have to wait or use the Pyromancer.
Yeah,
personally,
I can go either way.
I played a lot with this deck, and I usually like saving Pyromancer because it's cheaper and you can kind of use it for other scenarios.
You can set up a huge turn that way, yeah.
And it's just more versatile versus if you use as Quality Consecration, you don't always have applications for it.
Yeah, I could see either one being used. I haven't played the deck and I haven't used Wild Pyromancer much, but I use it here because he doesn't have anything on his own side.
Yeah.
So that kind of gets me excited for it. So he does choose that route, and that's going to give him Consecration a little bit later on. He has another one of these combos that's one-sided now.
Well, we do see that Nyhx is drawing a Harvest Golem, but now it comes for the big daddy.
Tyrion.
Tyrion Fordring.
Good card, good card. I don't think that there's any silences. Yeah, there's no silences in StrifeCro's deck, so he's going to be getting a big sword pretty soon here. Or, you know, well, if he doesn't get the sword, that might be even better, because that means Tyrion Fordring's still on the field.
And he's going to be able to put out a lot of damage. There is big heals from StrifeCro in his hand available, Lay on Hands.
You know, I love Lay on Hands on a turn that you know you're not getting attacked the next turn. Here, I guess he has to do it, right? But most of that life gain is just going to go away next turn.
Yep. A Faceless Manipulator.
Oh,
now, that adds a really interesting variable to the equation.
Do you think he's just gonna copy the Tyrion?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, let's see what he has as his draw. Also, interesting enough, Nyhx had enough for Sylvanas, but he didn't, because he's aware that there still could be another Equality Consecration, so that's a very good smart play.
And the Manip, does it come down? No, maybe?
What else can he do? I'm trying to look at his, maybe if he,
The thing is, I think it was planned from the beginning was to not Faceless Manip, and if it was, he made a mistake by breaking the Divine Shield, because you'd want it with the Divine Shield and then break the Divine Shield. Because that 1/1 token, obviously not the most useful thing in the whole world.
Yeah, you're right, and he could use things, I mean, the Mad Bomber could also proc it as well when you grab this, so not the ideal situation for StrifeCro whatsoever, but he's going to use that Faceless Manipulator, can't pick a better target, and he can even use the Outer Peacekeeper in combination with it.
It's a really good combination. That 1/6 not going to be nearly as useful. Of course, he can use that plus a Sword Strike to take that down, if that's what he wants to do.
There's also another heal on the that StrifeCro has drawn with the Holy Light, so he still has a lot of breathing room. And now it's just, this is not a situation you see all the time.
No, certainly not.
Now we do have a Quality Consecration on his side, but there's also Sylvanas.
Yeah, stealing would be pretty awesome.
Then you can have
but it would
Death
take a
Rares.
while to steal. The first thing that jumps to my mind is attacking with your own Tyrion into his Tyrion.
Getting the weapon.
Yeah, getting the weapon, then maybe Aldoring it, if you like, and then swinging at it with your weapon, taking 1 damage, killing him off. It's not the best move in the world, but Tyrion scares the hell out of me, Frodan.
Screw fighting with minions, let's take it to the swords.
Yes.
Let's fight like real men.
Yeah. Let's fight like the heroes that we are.
This is a mirror match if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
Well, actually, what's really nice is StrifeCro he hasn't used his own Tyrion either.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm like looking at this Tyrion, like, okay, so that's another, no, he has his own. That was a faceless manipulator.
And he has a rag, but he hasn't used it either as well. He hasn't drawn a rag.
Oh, that's right. So actually, a lot of these threats are being used out.
Yeah. Nyx is cycling through his threats, and it almost feels similar to the situation as StrifeCro Druid in the previous game.
Well, I don't know, man. This is actually a very, very difficult choice.
I wonder.
There might not really be that much. The thing is, he's going to have 1 less charge if he plays like that. And then, yes, his Tyrion's gone. His opponent already has Ashbringer. His opponent has another Tyrion. His opponent has the Rag left.
And how many answers does he have in response?
Yeah, the left in Nyx's deck. Did he already use the Black Knight this game? I don't think so, right?
Not. No, he's not. He's used his Sunwalker, he's used his Rag, and his Tyrion.
Yeah, he still has Sylvanas, so actually Sylvanas can steal one of those threats and basically equalize everything, so she's pretty cool like that.
Check this out. Yeah, Sylvanas is a cool chick. Check this out. He's going to use the Consecration and the Avenging Wrath.
This is a really good play, because he's going to get the sword, but
he has to attack into the Tyrion.
Yeah, and that's not enough to kill him. So he has to do that plus something, or do that for 2 turns, and that's 2 charges off that sword, and it's like the Faceless Menip almost never happened.
Interestingly enough, his opponent can also do the same back, essentially. Consecration and kill it off and actually replace his True Silver with it.
Very true.
Big draw as well. Avenging Wrath is a very nice card to kind of even things out.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if he swings into the 1/6 and plays Avenging Wrath, for sure that taunt's going to be gone. And that's going to waste 1 of the charges on the True Silver Champion, which is nice. You want to be able to use all your charges on all your weapons. Doesn't always work out that way, though.
Most certainly, and he even has a quality with Avenging Wrath to even add to the fuel to the fire, if he wants to. So a lot of options at his disposal.
Yeah. Since it's his last equality, I'd like him to save it for like 1 more giant minion or 1 more big clear that could win the game. I would like the attack plus avenging. I think that's pretty solid. But no, he's gonna go ahead and clear the whole board, which is fine as well.
Yeah, and now he has 4 mana, so he can still drop 2 minions or token if he so desires. Here comes a big moment. It's not as big as you would think. Oh!
Well, it says Mad Bomber, but I think it's Mad StrifeCro right now. All right, so he has 15 points of damage in this ridiculously awesome weapon, as his opponent does. But there's a lot more life gain, I would say. Is there a lot more or just a little bit more?
Holy Life.
How many does he have for Holy Lights? He has
one. He
has
1 and he has...
1. So he only has a little bit more heal overall.
And he also has True Silver, but that might not matter. Wow. Big lay on hands moment for Nyx.
Big moment indeed. And there's that Black Knight, which could come into play.
Nice. You can also trade really well for the Bomber if he so desires, and then
he has to trade for Bomber and swing, right? And the thing is, that's 15 damage on that sword, so that he's gonna have to draw more heal.
So it's kind of funny, after it's all the fires and flurries, it just come down to 2 guys swinging their weapons at each other. Another Avenging Wrath.
That's a lot of damage, man. That is a lot of damage.
16 damage. And
oh my God, he might just do it like that. That's so good.
Yeah, because if he does Avenging Wrath...
In a situation like this, ooh.
He's got 10 damage in his hand, and he's got 16 in the Avenging Wrath, so that's 26. And there's only 1 damage that can be absorbed over the next 2 turns.
You know what he's counting right now? Is he's looking at and saying, if he... Wait, no, the Ragnaros was already played from Nyx, right? So never mind, because actually Avenging Wrath could kill him. An Avenging Wrath plus... so he's playing safe. He's playing really safe here.
He doesn't want to throw away. I mean, StrifeCro...
It's the right choice
known
as well.
to play greedy, but in this case, covering all of his bases. But let's see what Nyx gets. A Fairy Dragon.
Okay, this is a tough one. I think he has to Aldor. Oh wait, he could equality and take it out. He could equality and take
He's
it
used
out.
his consecrations, so he doesn't really have.
Yeah,
And
just
what
equality
else?
plus the attack with token, maybe?
And I'm looking at his deck. He doesn't really run Avenging Wraths at all
Yeah.
in the Paladin deck.
Yeah.
Any logic behind that?
That was a pull for. That's actually how we got Guardian of Kings in that deck.
Okay.
I was pretty dead set on playing Paladin here. It's definitely my favorite class that I've used a lot, and I knew I needed a lot of heal, so I was like, you know what, guys, I'm taking out these Avenging Wraths. I don't think they're going to do well against like Druid, you know, and it's a hard pull to take out, right? It's such a good card.
Well, here comes one of the most crucial moments in game number 5 for Nyhx. I do think you're right, the Outdoor Peacekeeper, and you need to eliminate the Guardian of Kings from it. I think equality is also
I think he
good.
needs to equality, Aldor. He needs to do both of these. All right, equality, and then you Aldor one of them and kill it with the sword, and the other one you kill with the token.
Yeah.
He needs to preserve his life right now.
Yeah, at most.
Thing is, can he possibly know there's two
'Cause-
Avenging Wrath in his opponent's
Well,
hand?
he also can count like, well, if it's this kind of Paladin deck with Tyrion, or Face Manipulator, he's like, he hasn't played any super big minions if he's keeping count. And if he thinks his opponent is playing like Rag or Tyrion or anything, he could be in big trouble damage-wise. So yeah, he absolutely needs to keep his health points in check.
Yeah, if he had like one more health gaining spell like a Guardian of Kings right now, that would be very, very nice.
Yeah.
Is not the case though. Oh, and this
Outdoor
means he's not going to
Peacekeeper.
equality, right?
Yeah. So he's gonna use the Shadow Sun Cleric instead to take it
Okay.
out. Fill up
Okay.
the board instead.
And you know what? This is going to make him very much stronger against Avenging Wrath.
Yeah, actually, yeah,
Could-
subtly.
Yeah, this could still work out for Nyhx, absolutely.
And go instead straight for the face. And so now we have 10
that
damage
lethal?
and minions, and he has lethal. It's a good setup here for Nyhx. A Wolf Rider is not a card that he was necessarily looking for, but he still can put it to good use.
He can clear a minion at
Yep.
least, right? So
Yeah.
I think here you obviously Avenging Wrath immediately, see what it hits, and then do math. It just doesn't have any other options.
Yeah, funnily enough, assuming this Avenging Wraths hit everything, he actually did have a potential for lethal, but
He got rid of 2 minions.
yeah, it's a good trade.
So yeah, he can, well, he has Wolf Rider. He can deal
You can get full
6,
board
He can
control.
deal 9.
Ooh. Wow, and then Avenging Wrath still is up, but I don't know if that's what he wants to go for. I don't know if he wants to attack a minion and put himself at 11 health himself.
Yeah, if he goes to 9, if he hits him down to 9, which he absolutely can do at this moment,
Yeah.
there's actually only 11 points that he can see on the board. But
Yeah.
getting 3 more points of damage is so doable. There's a lot of Paladin cards that
Yeah,
could
Hammer
possibly
of
do that.
Wrath,
Yeah.
True Silver Champion. Oh, he doesn't have? Oh, he does have.
He does have True Silvers, but he has to attack with the sword, so he can't use one of those. Does he kill a minion? Does he go for the face? This is what it's
I don't
coming
know,
down
man.
to.
And all these
What is the right
decisions-
choice?
And it's so delicate because any wrong step could be the end.
God, this is so close for
And
him.
he's saving it in his hand because is he gonna save the Wolf Rider?
He might save it to try to kill next turn, I guess.
Set up potential lethal. But then
Yeah.
you're leaving 2 minions, you're leaving 11 on the board. It's like, can he get 3 damage?
The thing, the most amazing thing would be a Guardian of Kings coming up for Nyhx.
Yeah.
If he can pull that, then I think he wins, right?
Yeah. Or any way to do 3 damage would be even better, if assuming all the minions
Yeah.
stay up. A True Silver Champion.
Yeah, yeah. God, this is this is a crazy one, man.
Yeah.
These games are just wild.
Because he doesn't really have
Even
other
a taunt
options.
is kind of okay. I don't think he assumes that there's another Avenging Wrath in hand right now.
What taunt would he have to push it out?
Well, I think he still has 1 defender in his deck, right?
Okay.
So that could be nice.
And actually, it's a +2.
And he does
damage as
have. Wait, he already played the Sunwalker. I
Yeah,
believe.
he has.
So.
All right, he's gonna go for the Wolf Rider instead and go straight for it. He's making it down to 1 last card.
This is it. What did Nyhx draw?
A Blood Knight. Okay.
Okay, he needs to trade with these 2 minions and clear the board. He needs a. God. He has to kill them off, and he has to somehow have Avenging Wrath not hit him for 2, which I think is impossible.
Yeah.
Pretty sure about it.
Well, he does have Sylvanas, and he does have.
He's just hoping that
Oh wow.
it looks like that's it. The draw was not good
Oh
enough.
no.
And
Although it might come down to it, but what is the last card? Is it something big?
come on.
Oh, an abomination. That's kind of amusing.
Now he has to choose which one to do. There is the possibility that Avenging Wrath doesn't kill him.
It's
Whereas
very
Abomination, there's a possibility that he dies, that it's a tie with Abomination. But I think if he just attacks, I would do Avenging, because you only need to hit for 1. That's all you need.
Yeah, you only need
if
to
Avenging
hit
Wrath
once.
doesn't hit 1 out of 8 on the
just
Paladin
have-
hero, that's the first time I've ever seen it.
Here we go.
And
Oh! Wow.
crazy, crazy ending.
Unbelievable. Really.
StrifeCro takes it down, so much damage coming out there at the end. That was a sick good series.
That was. Coming down again to one last turn each.
Yeah, this just keeps happening at Fight Night, man.
Well, this is what we came to see, and this is what we saw as Nyhx falls to StrifeCro. Praise Ragnaros ties it up 1-1.
Praise Ragnaros indeed.
He didn't even need Ragnaros in that game,
No,
actually.
I guess not.
Yeah. Wow,
And
these guys
they
are
hug it
hugging.
out. They know how close that was. That could have been absolutely anyone's game there.
I really thought the first series was one of the best, but I got to put that in contention as well, as Nyhx and StrifeCro put on a series to remember here at Fight Night ESGN TV. When we come back, we're going to have some interviews with both StrifeCro and Nyhx. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Joined by Nyhx at the desk. Dude, amazing series, but talk to me about what's going on right now.
I'm just happy. I'm happy to lose this as well, like the sickest games I've played in a long time. I nearly made the comeback. Every game went to like the last turns, and I'm just happy to get the opportunity to play those games.
If you can you recall some of those most important moments or some of the coolest moments you felt personally in the series?
I think the last game was the best, because I was kind of out of the game, and I managed to like top deck the Lay on Hands to bring me back, and top deck the Consecrate to clear the board. That was pretty sick and pretty lucky. Yeah, and his Wolf Rider kill. Like, that card is just hilarious.
MVP
and
of the deck.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. Now this is the second time you've played StrifeCro, and the first time he beat you pretty convincingly, but this time you managed to take it down to the very last turn. Seems like you guys are developing kind of a rivalry, don't you think?
Sure, I'm up for more games. I think he's the best one of the team, and I'm up for more games, of course.
So next time you think you can take him down, maybe?
Sure.
All right, so Nyhx vs. StrifeCro, let's make it happen one more time. Thank you so much for joining me, man, and great series again.
Thanks.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm joined by the Stone Crow Killer. How you doing, Kong? You must be feeling really good. 3 wins in Fight Night.
Yeah, I'm doing great. After the ace match yesterday, I was very confident, but Nyhx put up a great fight here.
So talk to me about the series, some of the important moments that stuck out to you the most.
One of the moments was my teammates told me after I lost the game, but when I was playing Druid versus Paladin, he was fairly low, I think 11, where he had a weapon, and I could have charged him with the Druid of the Claw, and if he attacked the Druid Claw with the weapon next turn, I could charge him again with the next Druid Claw. I think I would have won. Looking back at it, I think that was a big mistake, because I saw from the first game that he had Black Knight, and running it in taunt there allowed Black Knight to kill it. What I was thinking in the game was the weapon was a 5 attack, and if you put it in taunt, it'd be 4/6. But I shouldn't have played around the weapon, because I should have realized that if he attacked me with a weapon, he would just die anyways. I mean, there's some heals, but I don't know, I think that was a mistake. But I think the most intense decision I made was the second to last turn in the Paladin Mirror, when I was thinking of whether to charge him with the Wolf Rider.
Yeah.
He had I think I had 14 life and he had 11 damage. And I could have taken out one of his 3/2s, but if I did that, my next turn, the chance of killing him would be drastically less, because if I charged him to 2, I had an Avenging Wrath to finish him. But I had a pretty high chance of dying that turn, maybe. One of the cards that would have killed me was Truce Over Champion, and since he already had a weapon, he couldn't swing with both weapons. So I guess that's what triggered me to do it.
Wow, so yeah, those were some really critical moments. But now, after it's all been said and done, you have 3 wins. That's a killing spree here in Fight Night. Congratulations. In fact, if you donate some money, we probably named that chair after you, because you sit in this winner's seat so often.
Yeah. Well, I'd rather keep the money and you guys keep the chair.
All right, we'll take our money and run. Congratulations again, man. Hope to see you soon.
Thanks.
Well, there you have it. StrifeCro ends up taking the series 3-2, and you heard his thoughts. Dan, do you have any final thoughts on the series?
Great series. I think they both played fantastically, and StrifeCro continues his reign of terror here.
Yeah, so now all of a sudden the best of 5 has become a best of 3. It's tied 1-1 between Team DogeHouse and Praise Ragnaros. That does it for this episode of Fight Night. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much, Dan, for joining me, and hopefully we get to see you play again or commentate in the future.
I hope.
This has been ESGN TV. Just watch.